So for this video, I want to share my quick thoughts about this interview that Kanye West did with DJ Akademiks. First of all, this outfit that he's wearing is absolutely crazy. He's wearing a KKK outfit. And we know all about the KKK. It was a terrorist organization that committed all kinds of despicable crimes against the black community. That organization did everything in their power to prevent African Americans from having civil rights in this country. But yet and still, Kanye West thinks it's cool to wear a KKK outfit. And on top of that, he's wearing a swastika chain under that hood. This man is wearing an outfit of a group of people that hate black people like Kanye West. They despise him. And I think that this is the ultimate expression of self-hatred. It's the ultimate expression of a hatred toward your own people. It is absolutely despicable. This takes Uncle Ruckus to a whole nother level. And I think that, frankly, this is a plea for attention. It's a cry out for relevance. It is a sign of somebody that is completely self-absorbed. It is a sign of somebody who is an absolute narcissist, somebody that will do anything for attention. This whole interview reeked with jealousy. It reeked with hatred towards other artists. That's what the whole interview was about. He's jealous of so many artists. And you would think that somebody with all this fame, all this fortune, would, be happy. They would be satisfied with life. But instead, he's miserable. If you listen to this interview, that's all you hear in the interview is misery, hatred, and jealousy of others. And, the other thing I want to mention about this interview is that DJ Akademiks, he doesn't do real interviews. Like, the few that I have seen, he doesn't approach them like a journalist. He doesn't approach these interviews like somebody that's actually conducting the interview. He approaches them like a groupie, a fan, somebody that's in awe just to be in the presence of a Kanye West, instead of asking him the very real questions and actually following up with those questions. He briefly mentioned this ridiculous outfit that Kanye West has and the chain that he had on, the swastika chain, but he didn't go into depth. He just brushed over that. He didn't go into depth about, the ridiculous comments that Kanye West made about Jay-Z and Beyonce's children. He didn't really go into it deep enough because he's so busy trying to be liked by these celebrities. He's so busy trying to be just in the company of these celebrities. He just feels like it's a privilege just to be blessed to be around Kanye West. So since he approaches this interview with that kind of attitude, he's not going to ask the tough questions that need to be asked. Instead, he's approaching it like a fan. And that just shows the weakness of his interviewing skills. And, I know that he's a very popular personality, but in terms of actually conducting an interview, I just think that he did a poor job. The other thing is this, Kanye West, he talked about the one thing that Kanye West said in this interview that really resonated with me is he talked about how a lot of these things going on between Kendrick and Drake have Lucian Grange written all over them. They have the lawsuit written all over them, because it's too many coincidences. Like, Kendrick getting the Super Bowl, Kendrick getting all these Grammys for a mid-song at best. And it's just absolutely crazy. I mean, as I said in a prior video, you got all these other diss songs that have been put out for the past 50 years of hip-hop. And this is the one that happens to get a Grammy. And it's all about positioning. When you look at the radio play and the role of music companies in getting radio play of certain songs, I don't think it's a coincidence that all this stuff is going on. So I think that he's on to something when he mentioned that. But even though Kanye, some of the points Kanye West may have made were valid. He completely undermines his credibility, by engaging in these antics, you know, through, the way he expressed himself and all that kind of stuff. So he undermines his own message, the very few positive things that he had to say. Well, not positive, but things that he said that were actually true. Now, the other thing is this: he said that Drake is a million times better than Kendrick. And, I think that's an exaggeration, obviously. Kendrick is a phenomenal artist, a great lyricist, and all that kind of stuff. He is significant in terms of the messages of some of his songs, like, in his albums, like To Pimp a Butterfly. That is a classic album that conveyed some very timely and important messages. Despite the fact that he's a big hypocrite and all that kind of stuff, as I revealed in, other videos and stuff like that. But I think that that's a very important album, and he is a top tier MC. So I think that it is a complete exaggeration to say that Drake is a million times better than Kendrick. But we know that Drake is simply a bigger artist than Kendrick. Drake has been around, had a greater impact longer than Kendrick. So he is, like, in terms of just music, not dealing with the lyricism and all that kind of stuff, but in terms of actual music, for me, Drake just simply produces better music. He makes better music, sonically, melodically, and all that kind of stuff. But they're both great artists. But anyway, those are my quick thoughts about this Kanye West interview. What do you think about it? And I kind of feel bad about just giving this any attention at all, but I can't ignore a clan outfit. This is crazy, man.